Have you ever faced a moment when life stopped you in your tracks, leaving you breathless and unsure of what to do next? This is the story of one such moment, a journey that begins in silence, grows in struggle, and ends with a truth powerful enough to change everything. It was a quiet evening, the kind of evening when the world seems calm but the heart feels restless. A boy, no older than 20, sat on the edge of his bed staring at the floor. His life looked ordinary from the outside, friends, family, studies, but inside, he carried a storm. He wondered if he was meant for something more, something greater than just routine days and silent nights. The walls of his room felt like they were closing in, whispering doubts into his mind. Everyone around him thought he was fine, but he knew he was only pretending. And then on that ordinary evening, something happened that would shatter his routine forever and open a door he didn't even know existed. The next morning began like any other. The sun broke through his curtains. The streets outside buzzed with life, and yet he felt heavier than ever. As he walked to college, his mind raced with questions he had no answers to. Why did he feel so stuck? Why did every step feel like it was leading nowhere? That was when he saw it, a small poster taped to a rusty streetlight. The words were simple. Dare to change. Dare to become more. He almost ignored it. But something about those words clung to him. His heart beat faster as he stood frozen, staring at the faded ink. He followed the directions at the bottom of the poster, leading him to an old community hall. Inside, a group of strangers gathered, each carrying their own silent battles. They welcomed him not with judgment, but with understanding smiles. For the first time, he felt he didn't need to hide. Little did he know, this step into the hall was not just a choice. It was the beginning of a storm, one that would test his courage, his pain, and ultimately his very identity.
इसे मत छोड़ो मेरे बच्चे। अगर तुम इसे सेव करोगे और आमीन टाइप करोगे तो कल सुबह तुम्हें एक चमत्कार देखने को मिलेगा।
The hall was dimly lit, and in the center stood a mentor who seemed to see through every mask. You're here because you're searching, the mentor said, locking eyes with him. But what you're really searching for is already inside you. At first he resisted. He thought, how could this be true? But as days turned into weeks, the training began, hard, relentless, pushing him past his limits. Each exercise broke him, yet each failure lit a spark inside. He began to confront not only physical challenges, but the demons within his mind, the doubts, the fears, the nights spent in silent battles. Then came the test. Alone in the hall, the boy was asked to stand against his greatest weakness, the belief that he was never enough. His hands trembled, his voice cracked, and the weight of every failure pressed down. Yet in that moment of breaking, something shifted. He chose not to give up. He lifted his head, clenched his fists, and stood tall. This was no longer about the world outside. This was about proving to himself that he was stronger than his pain. That single choice changed everything. The weeks that followed were unlike anything he had ever lived. He walked the same streets, but they no longer felt heavy. His heart carried scars, yes, but those scars now felt like medals of survival. His friends noticed the change too, not in his appearance, but in his presence. He laughed more, spoke with confidence, and carried himself with a strength that came not from muscle, but from resilience. The boy who once questioned his worth had found his answer. The routine that once trapped him had become the stage for his growth. He realized that the world didn't need him to be perfect. It only needed him to keep moving forward, no matter how small the step. And so what began as an ordinary evening turned into the story of transformation. His struggle wasn't unique because deep down, we all face battles the world doesn't see. But if his journey teaches us anything, it's this. Change doesn't start with the world around us. It starts within. If you've ever doubted yourself, remember this boy's choice. Maybe today is the day you, too, take that first step.